and would like to also further point out that whilst this may have been done in the spirit of peace talks and even ground on negotiations, the fact that it does contradict itself in the end appears to indicate that there is a blade waiting for those who sign this treaty.
Thank you.
Does the delegate not agree that nations will continue developing nuclear power and nuclear energy or arms clandestinely unless they have some kind of incentive rather than a lift of punishment is stated in clause 11?
This delegate agrees with that, and also would like to further the idea that we should all strive for a nuclear-free world, and in doing so, perhaps clandestine talks could be removed by providing incentives as suggested.
Would the delegate members please yield the floor to the chair?
So you do.
This resolution is something that I'm ashamed to read. Specifically, clause 8, which I'm not on the floor to remove. Now, it calls upon governments to do a few things that are so ultra general that it is absolutely ridiculous even to have them in there. But this is only one of the many clauses that I would wish to remove. I'll read some examples. Ensuring economic stability within a country, as well as the distribution of common foods for those underfed. I do not know, but the basis is good, but it's so general that this really accomplishes nothing. Now, continuing on to clause 2, clause 2. Cooperating with other nations willing to help in receiving monetary, humanitarian, and other type of aid necessary for the progression of mutually beneficial relationships. Absolutely important, but totally general. This has no place in this resolution, and it's just absolutely wrong.
Morocco is strongly against clause 14, and so is for the concept of striking clause 14 from the resolution, because it seems to be either a failed attempt to fuse two very different ideas together, or it is simply a grammatically handicapped piece of writing. Why are we inspecting all cargo when we are talking about economic sanctions? Additionally, the concept of sanctions is a concept that really needs to be abandoned, since we have seen that sanctions have been imposed on Iran, and all these sanctions have had no effect on Iran and have not gained Iran's compliance in this issue. And so just imposing more sanctions or increasing sanctions will have no effect. As for DPRK, who are even more economically developed than Iran, they will also be unaffected by the imposure of more sanctions on them. And so clause 14 is a clause that needs to be stricken from this resolution. Thank you.
Please raise your placards high now. Vote against this amendment. Please raise your placards high now.
Delegates, the delegate of Macedonia mentioned this resolution was extremely impenetrable. Please, this resolution is about as impenetrable as a wet rag. The delegate is dumbfounded that such a resolution has made it to the committee. It has contradictions and oxymorons written all over it. Clause 7 asks the to recognize all nuclear states in the Middle East as nuclear weapon states. Iran, for the 50th time, is a peaceful nuclear state. My bad. A peaceful nuclear state. Who are we to assume that this nation has nuclear weapons? We don't. Moving on. Clause 8A5 tells nations to appeal to Security Council for sanctions. That's what nations have been doing. Yet somehow we still have sanctions, which makes this clause obviously irrelevant and makes it ineffective, and it detracts from the resolution as a whole. Moving on. Clause 11 tells nations to call and ask nations to to try and reduce sanctions by opening their borders to IAEA and their inspections. And Clause 12 states, if they don't open their borders, then the UN should increase sanctions. The UN should tighten border security. And here's the kicker. The UN should cease diplomatic...
Would the delegate please make his closing remarks?
Oh, I'm coming to a close. 1 second. It says to cease diplomatic activity. When does the UN cease diplomatic activity?
Thank you, delegate.
Please, 1 second. Please.
No, not 1 second.
All right.
Is the delegate open to any points of information?
The delegate is open to points of information.
The delegate has opened himself up to 1 point of information. If there are any in the House, please raise your hand now. Greece, you're recognized. Is it your audibility? Please be louder.
Does the delegate agree that although this resolution has good intentions, it does not in any way seek to follow through, specifically subclause 3A, which simply assumes that all nations who previously were unwilling to sign an entity with no motivation whatsoever?
This delegate believes that the delegate of Greece is exactly correct.
Madam Chair, fellow nations, Iran's nuclear program has encountered complications. Bad press, rumors, war, and accusations. The nation and the UN avoiding their natural temptations. However, we can't just shut Iran down, although that's the natural choice all around. We need to step up rules and inspection, loosen the sanctions, and stop the deflection. The CNSR shall establish more rights to seize Iran's problem and show them the light. However, the IAEA wants in the fight. Not necessary for them, but letting them in is polite. To remain in this matter, Tonga shall be. We also ask others to support, so you will see. This resolution process is great for all abroad. For allowing other nations to progress is a great cause. So to end this speech and go out making sense, pull off the sanctions, let inspections commence. With progress of a state comes equality around. And to give Iran its right is where Tonga's surely bound. Thank you.
The delegate has opened himself to 1 point of information. This will come from the bond.
Does most delegates agree that sometimes the sanctions cannot go to any higher degree, so Iran's negotiations is necessary?
The delegate of Tonga does surely agree. Thank you for bringing that point to me. I yield the floor to the chair.
Thank you.
We yield the floor to the chair.
Thank you for sticking to the person. The floor has been yielded back to the chair. The chair recognizes Angola.
6. Not 1, not 2, not 3. 6 resolution has the Security Council passed on the issues of Iran's nuclear program. In the beginning, these merely provided incentives to Iran to allow them some inspections of its nuclear facilities. Iran refused. Then the Security Council imposed some minor sanctions. Again, Iran refused. And again after that, and again after that, and again after that. Well, we say it is time to make a stand, ladies and gentlemen of the House. Angola fervently supports Argentina's attempt to resolve this issue. What makes this resolution stand out, in our opinion, is that it has a clear, unbiased purpose and achieves it by covering all bases. It continues to provide certain incentives, quite generous if we may add, to Iran, if and only if it decides to comply. However, as past experience points out, this might not, indeed probably will not, be the case. And yet, past sanctions have not worked. Argentina recognizes that, along with us, and along with the fact that it probably doesn't have the economic or political experience needed to propose effective and efficient sanctions. And so, the most distinguished delegate of Argentina proposes the creation of the UNSCR, a committee whose purpose, among others, is to investigate current and future sanctions that will, in fact, work. As a final note, Angola would like to address the issue of Iran's sovereignty. In previous conversations, delegates have expressed concerns about Iran's rights and the role the United Nations should play in resolving the issue. The delegate of Angola would like to remind the House that under Chapter 7 of the United Nations Charter, as previously mentioned, the UN has the right to, and, we quote, determine the existence of any threat to the peace, breach of the peace, or act of aggression, and act to restore international peace and security. And the Security Council has determined the existence of the threat to peace 6 times, and it has acted 6 times. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Are you open to points of information?
If that is in order, we would like to yield the floor to Israel.
That is in order. Israel, do you accept the yield? Israel, you have the floor.
Stability within the Middle East depends upon a balance of power. It is when this balance of power is disturbed that tensions start to rise. In the past years, the uncertainty of the nature of Iran's nuclear power program has been a constant destabilizing factor for relations all over the Middle East. In order for relations to start to progress, and in order for the situation in the Middle East to calm down, we need complete nuclear transparency from Iran. And it is only this that will actually force Israel to accept anything from Iran. Because in line with this, Israel believes that this resolution is an important step forward in proposing exactly this transparency in line with the IAEA and also the creation of the new body which will bring forward more effective inspections.
Thank you, Doug.